Hello, my atypical daydreamers. After this episode, I'm taking a break to record more interviews and make more music. I'll be back on January 11th, 2024. In the meantime, for the month of December, I'll still be posting bonus stories at my Patreon. So head over there to get your road story fix. Make sure to follow and subscribe wherever you listen, and if you're liking the show, tell a friend. Thanks for your support, and now on to the show.
Then I think like 5 minutes later or something, I'm still in the living room and she goes outside to the porch and she just goes, Tyler, oh my God, Tyler, come here. Like, I haven't really heard her like this maybe at all in our relationship.
Welcome to Atypical Daydream, a podcast about life on the road. I'm Josh, your host, and thanks for stopping by. My first guest is Ed Hamell, a.k.a. Hamell on Trial. He's a musician, songwriter, and a punk rock poet. Coupling parenthood with the life of a touring musician has always been a tall order, but Ed knows the recipe to maintain both, and it's a beautiful thing.
I think about this a lot. When I was a kid, I was like building boats. And when I was like a little kid, like 5, 6, there was some lumber that was in my backyard. So I was going to build a boat and I was going to travel. I always had Wanderlust. I just think about this the other day, but I always did, you know. You know, some people were thinking about this 30 years. I think, wow, 30 years. I mean, some people say this ain't my first rodeo, but it really is my first rodeo, but I just kind of loved it. So I stayed. So I would say, I mean, I've been hardcore touring since right at 93, I could do it. I could finally make my living playing music. So from 93 till now. So what's that, 30 years? You know, I've always been gigging. I mean, I was in bands for many, many years. And other than regionally, because I was in a band that did primarily upstate New York for 7 years. And then that's when I went solo. That was around 89. But I was still touring regionally. As a matter of fact, it was so difficult because of what I do and how idiosyncratic it is. I mean, it was pretty aggressive for the folk rooms, for the acoustic rooms. And the rock rooms were skeptical that I didn't have a drummer or a bass player. So it wasn't really until I got signed to a major, which was in 93 here in Austin. And I was kind of cognizant of the fact that, you know, I got signed to a major when I was 39. So, I mean, I knew that it was going to be a short-lived thing. But I was also like, I want to make music my life. And so I have always sort of interpreted it as I'm an independent contractor, you know, a small business owner. And I knew that I would be able to, you know, some of the rooms that I played, I've been playing the same rooms for 25 years, just similar to a salesman. My ex-wife, who I get along great with, is a wonderful woman, and we were married for 25 years, you know, and she thought I was being too self-effacing when I would say this, but to a large extent, I was a brush salesman, and I don't find that pejorative. I proud of my brushes. I work really, really hard on my songs, and I paint as well, and I sell paintings, and you know, I work hard on those brushes. But it is very similar if you interpret it that way. Like, I want to continue doing this. I've been lucky. I really have. I mean, there's been, you know, everybody, my ex-wife, who was a tough gal, I'm attracted to the strong ones. She once said, I remember coming back from a gig and just saying, I'm never playing there again. And I'm going to tell that club owner, go stick it up his ass. And she said, oh, it must be nice. She goes, because when I work, no one applauds at the end of the day. The day this is a great story of my ex-wife. And she was really a woman of great integrity and tough, you know. She worked her way up from nothing. But anyway, so I had gotten dropped from Mercury Records. And so we're eating and I'm quiet. And she finally says, how long is this going to go on? And I went, what? Just, you know, the brooding, the sulking. I'm just curious, how long is it going to go on? And I'm like, well, you know, give me a break, man. I worked my whole life to get a major. I just got dropped, you know. How about 24 hours? She goes, you know, You should have gotten the porn industry, because in the porn industry, when they fuck you in the ass, they pay you and answer your phone calls. I've been really lucky. Like, I have no regrets. It's been a great life, been a great run. And when the marriage broke up, which was really around 2008, my son was 6 at the time. And I was going to make absolutely sure that he was a major, major part of my life. And I was going to be a major part of his life. And my ex-wife was really, really cool. She didn't grow up with a father, and she really knew how important it was. So he lived with me technically, zip code wise, because the schools were phenomenal. She only lived 15 minutes north. She was a great mother, very 50-50 parenting, but he toured with me a lot. We've done, easily 300,000 miles together in the car. We've been around the country, cross country 16 times, and he's seen the Grand Canyon, Comic-Con, Mall of America, Memphis, Civil Rights Museum. We've done it all since he was 6 years old. And most of this he has documented. That has been, I wouldn't trade that for the world. Because I've toured with a lot, I've opened for a lot of people. I've been on the bus, Some of these people are 50 years old. They've been on the bus since they were 20 years old, and they haven't talked to people, and they haven't been out in gas stations and talking to people that are living on the street. And my son and I saw that and witnessed that, and I wouldn't trade that for anything in the world. There's not 1,000 people in the room screaming my name. Doesn't mean a fucking thing to me, frankly. But hanging out with him and often, particularly during the Bush administration, I would go down south or the Trump and the 50 to 100 people that come to see me. A lot of times when you're in Carolina or Georgia or Florida, for fuck's sake, you have all these people coming up going, thank you, I couldn't say this at work. My son saw a lot, he really did. So it was very rich. I've had a very rich life. I've been very lucky, very lucky. I'll tell you, back to my son, he, one time when he was, I think in 8th grade, because he was a straight A student and always was, and he got a C in math in 8th grade. So I took him aside and I'd be like, Detroit, we got to talk. Like, here's the deal. I'm singing about Ann Coulter's cunt up there and bringing in you into every bar in the United States. You can't get a C in math. Or I can't take you out. You really got to get straight A's. So when the other parents come at me, I can go, hey, fuck you. You don't judge me. My kid's a straight A student. And now he's going to go for his doctorate. So who wins this one, I remember we went to the Grand Canyon. So I'm on a budget, like always, Motel 6 when it was cheap and whatever. So we get to the Grand Canyon, it's $30 to get in. And my son has no idea. And like any kid, he wasn't particularly interested. And until you really get to Texas, there's nothing radically different. So now we get to the gates of the Grand Canyon and I'm paying $30 and my son's looking at me like, why is Pops paying, $30 for a hole in the ground? But the look on the kid's face when he saw it was, those are monumental moments, man. That's really when it all comes into focus.
Hey, Josh here. I love making this podcast, and I'd love to make it my full-time gig. Besides telling the stories, I'm basically a one-man band, and that takes time. If you're enjoying the podcast, please consider becoming a patron. You'll have access to loads of great bonus stories, and you'll have the satisfaction of knowing that you're supporting a truly independent podcast. Find the Patreon link in the show notes. And thanks. This next story comes from Tyler Watson. He's a clown, a writer, and a Vegas performer. When I say honeymoon, you probably think of newlyweds, love, and beautiful destinations. Tyler tells a different story and turns the honeymoon into a horror moon.
So we booked out 2 months in the year after we got married to travel through Europe, do a big blowout honeymoon, throw money to the wind, just let it loose. And so we worked it out with our contracts that our new contract, we were going to have 2 months off. And we were just letting loose. It was summertime. We had been working nonstop for 5 years. It's our honeymoon. So we were putting back drinks. It was a 2-month vacation, which I had never traveled that long on the road myself. So we kind of had this mindset the whole time. We were like, it's a marathon, you know? We were also drinking quite a bit. So we were also on this negotiation of like hangovers and stuff where we kind of just were like, I think we're still on vacation. So we just kind of kept the buzz rolling through the first month and a half, and that we somehow survived and made that work, and we're having a great time. But we knew that we ended up in Italy for the last part of our trip, and we decided, let's just hole up in Sicily. Let's like do a little sober vacation in Sicily, just bask in the sun, find a little like art retreat thing. We were like, we've been on the go. We've just been like, eating and living it up. Let's like do something productive with this portion of the trip. So we found a place on Airbnb that was like this little ranch house in Palermo. We'd never been to Sicily. We just were like, that'd be I don't know, it seems like a nice island retreat. We fly into Palermo. It's right up the street. We rent a car. And they have to open this gate for us at the bottom of this long driveway. They open the gate. They wave us in. We drive up the driveway. There's like, it's kind of like almost like a mini orchard along the driveway. And then you get up to the big ranch house. It's beautiful, big, almost like adobe ranch home. And then these giant mountains right behind us are just these giant crags, these rocks behind her. It's very like visually stunning. The woman who owned it, Yvette, is there, and she's like, I don't know, 80 years old or something. And she has a helper there, a younger woman. First thing we see are these like cats by the ranch house. And we're like, oh, cats. Oh, no. And they're like, oh, yes, you like cats? And we're like, I grew up with a couple cats. We hang out with cats or whatever. She's like, okay, these are just like stray cats that hang around the property. But if you don't mind them, we sometimes put out food for them. You can feed them if you want. And we're like, oh, okay. And then we just get the tour. Yvette has put out this like giant platter of like local fare. She's put out wine and like fruit and all these pastries and stuff. It's like no other Airbnb has done this. We're like, oh my gosh, thank you, Yvette. This is wonderful. And then in the kitchen, she has like local pasta sauce and pasta. And we're like, oh my gosh, this is way overboard. This is amazing. Thank you so much. And then in the kitchen she's like, and if you want to feed the cats, there's all this cat food, and there's like a whole cabinet full of cat food. It's like, okay, we're not going to, we'll feed the cats. Cause they were like, they're not our cats, so you don't have to feed them if you don't want. It's within the first day, the cats are like scratching at the glass. It's like, oh, these cats come here every day. They are fed here. Like there's no way we're not going to feed these cats. And we're kind of like assessing the cat situation. We're like, oh, there's like a mom cat, it looks like. And then there's a little kitten that sometimes appears that was like really hesitant out front. Like I don't think we saw the kitten for a couple days or something. And then there was like a male cat that kind of like was territorial. But then there was a separate cat on the other side of the property that only appeared on that side of the property. And we kind of like started to assess this over the course of a few days. But when they introduced us to the place, the one thing they mentioned, because there was that gate at the very bottom of the driveway, they were like, whenever you leave and stuff, just make sure the gate is closed at the bottom. There's stray dogs around just up and down the streets of Palermo or whatever. We're like, oh, yeah, no problem. That's easy enough. And at night, you could hear the stray dogs just like as dusk fell, just like, I don't know, dozens of stray dogs somewhere kind of off in the distance. You're like, oh man, the dogs are going off. And so we're taking it easy that week. We're feeding the cats. We're just reading books. My wife was making paper mache. That was her project for the week. She'd never done it before. So she was like trying to coordinate like where to get all the materials in Italy. She was like, I need like this type of glue and I need this stuff. I think she looked it up one day. She was like, okay, I'm going to run out and get all the supplies for the paper mache. I was like, okay. She was like, this was like midday. She's like, I'll be gone for like an hour or something. It was a very difficult driveway to get out of because to get in front of the gate, you would be in the road, in the highway as the cars are coming by. So whenever we left together, it would be like one of us hops out real quick and like closes the gate and then hops in the car and drives off. But she was by herself going off for the supplies. So she was like, I'm just going to leave the gate open. And I was like, that should be fine. It's midday. You're going to be gone for like 45 minutes right up the street. That's, yeah, whatever. I didn't really think much of it. And then I'm just lounging, reading a book, writing in the ranch house. And then I kind of hear the cats go off at one point. It doesn't sound good. It sounds like some sort of fight. I immediately like sit up and I'm like, oh, what the heck was that? And then I like peek my head out the window and I see the cats, like I think one of the male cats is kind of like up and its hackles are up and another cat was like kind of mingling around. And I was like, oh geez, there must have just been kind of a fight went down or something. And I sat back down and then not too long after that, like maybe 15 or 20 minutes, my wife came back. Then I think like 5 minutes later or something, I'm still in the living room and she goes outside to the porch where the cats were. And she just goes, Tyler, oh my God, Tyler, come here. Like, I haven't really heard her like this maybe at all in our relationship. And I was like, whoa, what is it? She's like, the kitten. Oh my God, the kitten. I go outside and half of a kitten is on the front porch of the ranch home. It's the bottom half of a kitten is just lying there on the porch. I'm like, oh, Jesus. And then, like, my wheels start turning. I'm like, oh, I heard a noise like 20 minutes ago. There was like, it sounded like a fight, but I didn't see anything. And then, like, we're like, the gate was open. Oh, I didn't think, like, did a stray dog just, like, come up and, like, murk this cat? Ugh. And it just, like, completely put, like, there was like no coming back that day from that situation. I think I put on some gloves or like got a plastic bag and just kind of like picked it up in the plastic bag and like put it in the bin. And we had like been making friends with these cats and stuff. So it was just like, it's our fault. We left the gate open. This little kitten died. Jesus Christ. Like, what have we done? This is terrible. And we're like, just that crazy natural world, man. It's like, we just kept kind of thinking like, oh man, this is like ranch life, I guess. This is what it's like on a farm or something, you know, they come and they go. And like, the biggest thing was that we thought it was the kitten that we had been like seeing from the first day. And then later that day after the incident, we saw the kitten again. And we were like, oh my God, oh, it's like that kitten, like the one that was healthiest and like oldest of the kittens was like coming around and stuff. So we were like, oh, he survived or whatever. It was another kitten we never even saw. There must be other kittens around or something. We were still like feeding the cats and just like, you know, made sure from now on that the gate was like always closed. And then I was just like totally keyed in on these cats over the next couple of days. I was just like, then I started to kind of assess what the true like scenarios were. I was like, oh, I kind of put it together. Oh, there's this orange tabby on the other side of the property that isn't willing to come over where they eat, like has been shunned or something. But that seems to be the dad of this kitten. But then there's a new male that like has taken over this side of the house that eats with the mom and the kitten and stuff. But he's like black or like dark gray or something. So I was just like, oh, there's dynamics here. There's like a whole pecking order and there's, I don't know, territories and stuff. And then 2 days later, my wife, she was either out of the house again or she's just like in the room with headphones on, like doing her thing with the paper mache. And I go out to like throw something away in the bin. And lo and behold, at the bottom of the stairs outside the porch is another half of a dead kitten, like same scenario, but completely different kitten, different like coat, fur, everything. And I just like was quickly like, you know, my stomach turned, but I was like, assessing it real quick, be like, I'm just going to grab a bag, put this one in the bin, and like my lips are sealed. I'm not going to like tell my wife because she's going to like freak out again. Like these kittens are just going down left and right. I'm like, the gate was closed all day today. Like there's no way a dog came in unless there's some hole in the fence or something. And then my wheels are turning now this time. 2 days ago, we just kind of like beelined to the assumption, oh, the gate was open, the stray dog came in. But this time I'm like, I don't think there was a stray dog. I feel like we would have heard it even the first day, a barking or something, like see evidence of this dog. And I'm just like, there's all these dynamics with these cats and the 2 male cats. And we didn't even know about these kittens. And so I just decide to like Google, do cats like murder their kittens? I just Google that. And immediately like thousands of responses. It's been Googled like thousands of times by all these different people. Like, do cats murder their kittens? And it's just like, yes, they do. Yes. For these reasons all the time. And I'm realizing like, oh, I grew up with cats, but all the cats were fixed and stuff. And these are just wild cats. And even one day I'd heard like a crazy cat noise again. I think the day after or something, I was like totally keyed in. I was like, oh, no. And I went outside and it was one of the male cats like mounting the kitten. And I was like, oh my God, he's trying to get on with the kitten. This is like, what is going on? I was just like, get off of her. And he like ran off, but it was like, and then I even Googled that day. I was like, how young does a kitten have to be to like have other kittens? And it was like some insane number, like 6 months old or something. I was like, oh my God, geez, the animal kingdom is, when it's not, like the natural order of things is so much more severe than I thought. But yeah, the Google articles were just like, if a cat can't provide for all of its kittens, or if it's stressed, if it feels, imposed upon or dangerous. And it was like all these new things, we were these new people on the property. Maybe we weren't feeding it exactly how we were, like giving it meals twice a day and stuff. But I feel like there was just this pecking order within the cats. But I kept this second kitten secret. I just was like, I'm not going to tell my wife. I'm just going to, let's just keep the Sicily trip. Hopefully another one doesn't go down. And then we were on a trip. We ended up like making these friends the very last day in Sicily. And we were like having a couple drinks and we were just like telling stories and letting things drop. And Grace, my wife, brought up the cats to the friend. It's like, oh my God, this cat thing happened. And then in the moment, I was just like, yeah, and I didn't tell you, but there was another one. And she was like, what? Because I did want to tell her, like, I don't think, my new assessment is I don't think it had anything to do with you leaving the gate open. I don't think a dog came in. I think it's these cats are murdering their children. It was this weird thing of like domesticity and like the wild, where we wanted to have this like idyllic, like, oh, little retreat. But then we were like imposing ourselves on this natural order that was established within this property and stuff. And it was, for me, it was just weird to kind of reassess with cats I had grown up with. Like, oh, those weren't cats at all. Those were like neutered, like these domesticated animals.
I want to thank Ed and Tyler for sharing their experiences. Make sure to check out Hamell on Trial's new album, Bring the Kids. It's out now. Also, if you're in Los Angeles this coming Thursday, December 7th, see Tyler perform in the show Hail Santa at the Elysian Theater. Otherwise, catch him on stage at Spiegel World's Absinthe in Las Vegas. This podcast was created and produced by me, Josh Caldwell. Music by Visual Aid, my side music project. General support and copywriting by Miranda Caldwell. If you like the show, please follow, subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you'd like to financially support the show, check out my Patreon page. You'll have access to loads of great bonus stories. You can find the link in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and I hope you come back next week.